before you post that comment telling me why I'm wrong just based off the title, hear me out. I'm not saying sequels are necessarily bad, but they don't beat out the original. Now I have many games, some would call it a problem, but I noticed there's a reason for that. Whenever I start a new game and I'm watching the opening scene for the first time, I'm filled with joy and excitement, just imagining the world and the story that I'm about to experience. It's a sense of mystery and wonder. The problem is, a sequel takes that mystery away. Now some games, you love them so much you don't care that the mystery is gone. You just want more of it, and I get that. In fact, that's how I feel about the 100 Kingdom Hearts games. Keep them coming. But anyway, think back to the first game you ever played if you can remember, or even just a good game from your childhood. What was it about that game that made you so fond of it? Well, that same feeling we had as kids, I have as an adult when I start a brand new game. I suppose the games I'm referring to are those single player games. Kingdom Hearts, Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank. Playing these for the first time, not really knowing exactly what's to come, but still being excited about what you'll discover. Now think about the second time you've played that childhood game. Sure, you loved it enough to play through it a second time, but was it as magical? Maybe you discovered a few new things, but for the most part, it's the same game. And that's what I think the problem is with sequels. It's a different game, but not really. For me, this was really evident with the Horizon series, namely Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West. I love Horizon Zero Dawn. The environment, the monsters, or dinosaurs? Even some of the characters. But most of all, the mysterious story and a world begging the player to discover old secrets. The problem with that is that once the secrets are discovered, that's it. What's the point of diving into the world again? I've already seen the cool enemies and biomes and villages. There's nothing left. So when Horizon Forbidden West came out, I just didn't feel the same excitement to venture into the world that I did with the first game. It collected dust for ages, and even now I still barely played it. Now I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I love the remake and Rebirth, great games. I'm just saying that when I popped in Rebirth, yes, I was excited for the story that took a turn by the end of the remake and the extension of the world, but I already had a general sense of what was to come. In contrast, when I started Remake, I felt like I was starting a brand new adventure, because I was. As I mentioned in my last video, Kingdom Hearts 2 is my favorite game ever, and I remember when I started Final Fantasy VII Remake, I thought, this is like Kingdom Hearts but for adults. I say that to emphasize the feeling of starting that new game. To be fair, I think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is actually a sequel that moved in the right direction. This is what I mean. Remake's environment was limited to Midgar, a giant metal city with different districts and no grass. The story was pretty linear, and the open areas were just about the size of a small town. But Rebirth had you leaving Midgar and replace the small towns with entire areas consisting of several settlements and quests. Overall, yes, it's a better game, but my point is simply that you know what you're getting. So how do you avoid this? Well, you don't. And that's okay. Yes, I'm aware I just spent the entire first part of this video telling you why the sequels are worse than the originals, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't exist or don't have a place in the gaming landscape. In fact, I think sequels do the job that they were meant to do. Give players more of what they want. Ah, but studio, you just said sequels suck. And my response to you? No, I didn't.
I'll stand on business every time.
I simply said that I prefer the original, usually. Now, to be fair to those of you who said I completely changed my tune, I did have a bit of change of heart when writing the script. I originally was just going to make the entire video about why sequels are worse and the original is always the better game. But in the multi-week process of me writing, yeah, I procrastinated a little bit. I was playing a lot of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and it really made me change my view a little bit. I also watched the video saying how Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the Kingdom Hearts 2 of the series. It expanded on the combat enough for it to feel new and different and exciting. So I'm sure you could tell, but I'm not as harsh on the sequels as I was in the beginning of the video. But still, I think that the job of the sequel is to expand on the original. When I say the original is better, I'm not talking about the mechanics of the gameplay or environments, although oftentimes those things are worse than the sequels. My point is that the initial feeling you get experiencing a new world can't be topped by a sequel. But there are three particular games that I think did sequels right. Kingdom Hearts 2, obviously, God of War Ragnarok, and yes, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm sure there are plenty of other games that fit the bill, but those are the ones that I want to focus on. What do you notice that these three games have in common? Each of them are an extension of the story of the first. Now, I'm aware this won't be everyone's experience, but I prefer when story games leave on a cliffhanger and get you excited for a second part. All three of these games pick up right from the end of their predecessor. God of War Ragnarok, for example, I consider one massive game. And in the case of Final Fantasy VII, it technically is just one massive game that's not done yet. They expanded the story, the world, and the combat, at least to some degree. And that's what sequels are supposed to do. They have their job in gaming, and when done right, it creates a masterpiece. So, even though I usually prefer playing the original, please, keep the sequels coming.